So if a gentleman's wearing spandex and polyester boxers, it's going to lead to impotence. For
Woo!
women, if they're wearing spandex and lycra leggings, it gives off this estrogen mimic chemical
No.
that leads to obesity. So,
Obesity?
correct.
Hi, everybody. This is Diane Gilman, proud host of Too Young to Be Old, formerly the Gene Queen in the world of fashion, tele-retailing, QVC, HSN. And did you ever take a look at yourself as you were walking out the door and think, I am dressed to kill? Well, guess what? You actually are, literally. And today we have an Emmy Award-winning fashion documentarian. That's a lot to say. Jeff Garner, who got an Emmy for Let Them Be Naked. That is such a big deal. And this is the second episode. So it's mirrored episodes on why fashion today is to be taken seriously and literally as killer fashion. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. And I would love to understand how you, as a fashion designer, came to kind of taking a fork in the road on your fashion journey and coming to the conclusion that the clothing we wear is in fact not elevating our lives, but endangering them.
Yeah, so quickly I started designing for my band buddies in Nashville, Tennessee, and started getting into and I realized how dirty everything was, and like printing T-shirts and all that. And so I was like, well, being a farm boy, Tennessee, country boy, I was like, I got to figure out a different way because I have horses and I have water streams, I have woods, and I like don't want to do anything that might harm that. And so that just kind of natural thinking got me into like, how do we do this differently? How do we use natural fibers? How do we use natural dyes? And yeah, so that got me on that path. Yeah.
But then your parents, each of them, had serious health issues.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe really kicked in your activism along with your heightened awareness.
Absolutely, yeah. My mom developed breast cancer, so it's correlations, right? So she was very healthy. We ate off an organic garden from the woods. And she wore natural clothing, and I was just like, but her bra was nylon, and I was like, huh, there's a correlation here. And then I was reading up this book called Dressed to Kill, Sydney Singer, who did a study in Fiji with women who never worn bras before, and they put half of them in bras and kept the other half out. Same diet, same environment. And then the statistics will just shock you. But basically the ones that started wearing bras, 100% got
Whoa.
rashes or got some sort of experience with wearing a bra. So there's correlation there. And so the hardest part about it is because each of our body DNA or structures are different, so you can't pinpoint it and say this causes this, right? But you can look at what's inside the fabrication and the dyes and realize, okay, these are carcinogenic toxins, and so they're going into the bloodstream at a rate of 37%. That's been proven.
That's huge.
And so it's kind of like you mentioned earlier, the smoking industry, right? It took 30 years for them to get a sticker on the box to say this causes lung cancer. And so 30 years of just getting policy, and that's all we're wanting to do is get labeling on the clothing. And
Okay, so
yeah,
what I hear is, and I do believe this is specifically at this point for California, I saw an article and it was unbelievable to me. It came out of nowhere, but coincidentally, it came out of after meeting you like 2 days later. I read it and I thought, oh, this is like fate. It said, and I believe California, that if you are shopping at Marshall's or TJ Maxx, there is a huge sticker being glued onto your purchase, and this goes for homewares as well, saying this product is made with carcinogenic and problematic dyes and chemicals that are probably going to really harm your health. And
Yeah.
hey, we're not responsible. Don't come after us because we told you, we warned you.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is like the tobacco industry. I used to smoke 3 packs of non-filtered cigarettes a day. And then when that, I think a little bit before the label got slapped on, but I knew it was going to, I thought, wait a minute, how dumb are you to opt to do something that is probably going to cut your life very short? And I stopped. But how do I stop wearing clothing? Because everything I own has nylon, polyester, spandex, or lycra in it. And they're all chemically produced.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a different day and era. Like my grandparents would know natural fabrics by just touching them, right? So we got, this conditional effect of constant exposure causes acceptance. We moved into synthetic fabrications and dyes. It behaves, it's stretchy, it's form-fitting, it looks sexy. I remember I used to work for Calvin Klein, one of my first mentors, and when he first sold his company, and he did all cotton boxers, and then it moved into the spandex and the sexy tight stuff. So, but what they didn't study is the correlation. They didn't study the synergy of effect. What did this polyester spandex with these endocrine disruptors do to the human body when you wear it? And it's kind of like during the war, they ran out of silk for the parachutes, and then they developed nylon in a laboratory. What does that nylon do to women wearing stockings that used to wear silk, now nylon? Obviously, they probably got rashes, it got itchy, it got hot because it's non-permeable, doesn't breathe. So that's what we're talking about. So, these warning labels are giving back the power of choice to consumers. So it's allowing you, if you want to smoke, fine, smoke. Fine, wear that spandex, but do know it is going to harm you. And that's what we're fighting for, is because right now people have no awareness, and so they don't have a fair choice. And that's where I got, passion with my mom, because she didn't have the choice. She didn't know that wearing this nylon bra could potentially
Who
cause breast
knew?
cancer.
Who
Yeah, who knew?
actually, until I met you and until I read this article about TJ Maxx and Marshalls, I didn't even know. And I've been in fashion for 50 years, and I remember the network coming to us and saying, you guys are number one in fashion, tell retail internationally, you need to get behind sustainable fashion. But nobody really even knew what sustainable fashion, and they decided at the network that it was using organic cotton for denim. But the factory didn't want to do it, so the factory charged almost double per yard.
Yeah,
And then the factory was set up not to just wash down 100% cotton, so they charged more for the finishing process. And then the customer, who is generally over 50, getting ready for semi-retirement or retirement, didn't want to spend more,
yeah,
didn't understand it, maybe didn't even believe in eating organic food. So why would you care about organic clothing? And after all, you didn't use organic cleaning products. And it just went absolutely nowhere. And I really pitched it on air like, this is going to be so great for you. But the truth is, I wasn't truly authentic because I didn't even know how good it was going to be
yeah.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So specifically with denim, so there's a reason why synthetic indigo is only made in one country in the world, and it's China, because of the toxic chemicals that make up that
Yep.
synthetic indigo. So years ago, I started with plant-based dyes, which, imagine you having a beautiful wood wall and you paint it with toxic paint. Well, it's going to act like the paint in behavior, not like the beautiful wood wall. So the minute you take organic cotton and paint it let's say, paint it with synthetic dyes, it's going to act and behave like that, and it's going to go into your body. So the idea is, so we set up years ago, I started doing plant-based dyes for all my couture stuff, but then we also set up a small little operation here in Tennessee in which we did powder form of indigo, natural indigo. We got farmers together and created a solution. So now these commercial dye units that you talk about, they don't want to change their system. Too expensive. They don't want to mess with it. So we made it feasible for them to convert by simply just using our dye in the powder form in the machines the same way they would the conventional synthetic dyes. And so that's what we have to look at. There are solutions, there are answers, but it's like cart before the horse. It does cost us more to do it. So therefore, when I sell like my hemp denim, it's going to be more expensive of a jean, or maybe not because of marketing dollars for these other companies, but it is going to cost me more to make. So I'll make less. But that's the reality. And so that's why we got to get more consumers to want and desire this and put their health first. Because we're living in a world that is still, like I said, still charging $7 for a t-shirt, which is the same cost in the 70s. So we're actually addicted to cheap price points in clothing. And it's hard to break that mentality because everyone's like, Jeff, well, what about, okay, fine, you and your friends can afford it. But, you know, we're working every day 9 to 5 and we're putting our kids in school and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I have a heart for that. I understand that. And that's why I'm fighting for this, because actually hemp is the best fabric, you know, it's the best fabric. It's easy to grow. If we got that going, it will be cheaper than even synthetics.
Hi, it's Diane Gilman. Guess what? If you are in the same bucket I'm in, which is women over 50, and you're thinking to yourself, how do I find out the best products to use? Maybe you've heard me talk about Purity Woods, and maybe you've asked me, I don't know, Diane, why do you love it? I'll tell you. Your skin is your passport to your visual to the world. If your skin is glowy, if your skin is healthy, you just generally look younger and are treated as a more vibrant personality. Why do I like Purity Woods? 100% organic. There is so much pollution in the air, so much pollution even if I go to wash my face with tap water. So many chemicals. I truly appreciate products that not only feel pure, but the scent of Purity Woods is just unbelievably refreshing. So, you know what? Give it a try. Get a discount using the code in the caption. Purity Woods. I love these products, and two of my very favorites from Purity Woods are the makeup remover, the exfoliator, which is just sort of like magic. So also, ladies, remember one more thing. As we age past 50, we do not turn over our skin cells as quickly as we did in our 20s, 30s, or 40s. You need not only a great makeup remover, but you need a great exfoliator to urge new skin cells to come to the fore. Purity Woods, they've got it all. We tried hemp and we tried bamboo.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a small farm up in Connecticut, just 20 acres, but there was a bamboo forest and it just grew so exponentially. So I thought, whoa, this stuff is a great resource. And it was soft too.
Yeah.
We put it into t-shirts and they were too expensive and they didn't want them. And I think I was just telling you, I was looking at a chart this morning of what Americans are going to be motivated by when they go to the ballot box. 37% was inflation, how much money they had in their pockets, how much they could spend discretionally, and only, I don't think it was even 5% for environment and global warming. And I will say that also, having gone through breast cancer, nobody could really tell me why.
Yeah.
If I said to you, I've worn bras that were polyester and had tons of spandex and nylon in them my whole adult life, as just when they became available. Um, Nobody had a commentary for that. So when you
Yeah.
get a disease like cancer, and probably your first question is, am I going to live? Can you treat me? But your second question is, what happened? I eat organically. I run every day. I'm healthy. I don't do anything I think is harmful to myself. The medical community is not stepping up. They do say if you smoke, your chances of dying are like 99%. If you drink hard alcohol, your chances of getting cancer are way elevated. Red meat, way elevated. So there is hope that eventually, if enough of a campaign for public visibility is put on, people will start, at least if they're not throwing out their existing wardrobe, start thinking, maybe I want to take that spandex out of my cotton t-shirt and just do 100% cotton.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I'm asking is for them to think about it because I have a lot of friends that are doctors, nothing against the medical community, but they're not trained in the subject matter as I am, for example, and others. So I study textiles, I study the makeup, I study the ingredients, I know what's in it, and I also know the correlation of effects. So, imagine studying lung cancer and never looking at the cigarette.
Ha!
That's where we
Yeah.
are with breast cancer. And if you look and do the research as I have for 10, 12 years, and then I hired another researcher to back me up the last 2 years, there's no studies on the bra outside of the industry.
None. Yeah.
So imagine why would they want to study it? Because they know the effect. They know the cause relationship, right? So once they put it in writing in a peer-reviewed study, then there's no question to it. So they're trying to ignore it as much as possible and I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I'm just going off of facts. Like there if you don't think it's the bra, then fine, study it and prove it. But don't just ignore it and deny it. It's because I got other studies like Sidney Singer in the book, who did his own study in Fiji, and I mentioned where he took women in bras and took them, and so that gave correlation, but it wasn't done in the scientific community, so therefore they just cast it out and said it's not legitimate. So there's got to be money put in towards the study, and that's where I'm like, well, why aren't they doing it? And so, because we know what's in it, we know that it goes through the skin. We know that the fatty tissues of the breast hold
Oh,
toxins because the body sees it as, an enemy, so it stores it in the fatty
it
tissues.
stores it. Exactly.
And we know that the bras are constrictive, that the lymphatic system is like it's like having a really thin hose. It's very sensitive to pressure. You put any type of pressure on it, it's going to stop it from moving and working. Right? So that happens, and then it doesn't have a heart like a pump. So it moves everything through off a motion of your breast moving. So you constrict your breast, nothing moves out. So the lymphatic system isn't working. It's not pushing the toxins out. So it's all harnessed and sets right there in your fatty tissues of your breast.
How does it work for men?
The men,
And
so
was your father impacted at all health wise or?
yes, so he got bone marrow cancer. He was so I have a real father and a hippie father. My hippie father is the one who got sick, and he did everything right except his clothing. He lived a
No.
beautifully amazing natural life on the beach in Malibu with an organic garden. But his clothing, he had this addiction to go to Target and buy stuff that was for sale on the rack. He was like that, he loved the deals. And I talked to him about it, and later in life I made him hemp and natural dye clothing. But yeah, and then I lost a child as well, and that's a whole nother issue, but that was with crop dusting chemicals. So, the correlation of these chemicals, and you can't nail it down because bioaccumulation levels are different. You and I could both, you said you smoked before, I've never smoked. I could start smoking tomorrow and I could get lung cancer the next week, like because of my structure, my DNA and everything. So that's why you cannot pinpoint it.
So you were also talking about the fact that I thought was fascinating. You rented a car in LA. You opened up the door of an overheated car. This horrible odor came out, and there was actually a sticker on the car about the kind of seat covering and the fact that it's toxic and don't breathe it in. But who knew? I feel like it's everywhere, and I feel like there's two major industries that are to have to answer for this.
Mm-hmm.
The first one to me is the fast food industry. And I've never had, oh, excuse me, I'm lying. I had one McDonald's once, and I thought, really? People like this? So it wasn't so much a choice as it was, I just wasn't entranced with the flavor. But shortly after, I started reading reports that if you raised your child on fast food, they were going to have a lower IQ, have a diminished immune system, and have a diminished lifespan. And that has been going on. That information has been out there for 25 years. It's a $5 meal. No one's going to give it up.
Yeah.
We have a tough time
Yeah.
as humans. We are smart enough to be able to live in a state of denial and stupid enough to not take the threats seriously. But I think the fast food industry, which is so powerful, and I think the fashion industry as a whole is going to have to come to a reckoning
Yeah.
soon enough.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. So in the book, I mentioned about the power of addiction, right? So going shopping, and having that new, garment that you buy and go on that date and you're wearing something new. It's exciting. It stirs you, right? And that's what we're talking about. So if I tell you, like, you can't go buy that, $40, $50 dress at H&M, you have to buy a $200 dress, what's going to change the buying habits? And so that's what we're up against. But the reality is we're living in a false pricing of clothing. And today's everything's gone up: gas, fuel costs, clothing, not clothing costs, but the food costs, the housing costs, everything except clothing cost. So there's a price to pay for this convenience. And so, people have been talking about this third world kind of, like you said, you produced in China, and you see the Pearl River flowing like tar, like because of all the dyes, the denim. Does that stop people from buying denim? No, because it's not in their
No.
backyard. But I'm trying to say, hey, it's going to affect you, your body, your temple. It affects your health. That's something that might inspire more people to think about it. But, it's tough. But as you say, with the fast food industry, it is an addiction. But at least people know. I think you ask anybody walking down the street, they'll be like, yeah, I know it's not good for me, but I have 20 minutes for lunch. I have $5, done. I'll do it today. Not every day, but I'll do it today. And there's also something that's called PFABs. It's in the wrappers of fast food. So it keeps it keeps the burger. It's a thin layer. Think of it like a thin layer of oil. It keeps the burger from sticking to the wrapper. So that chemical that you'll hear about this year in the news,
Oh my
but it's
God.
also in our clothing. It's in anything that's fire retardant and or keeps it from getting wet, like a weatherproof jacket. So nylon that's been coated with this. So that also goes through into your body via, the epidermis.
And
So,
we're not even talking about children's wear, back to school, where I just went out before I was aware of you and your cause, and a friend of mine was having a baby, newborn, and I bought it the cutest little onesie with it was a polar bear with fake Sherpa made out of polyester
yeah,
and ears
super cute.
and then I realized it's all polyester and spandex. And so you are starting out at the very first days of life being exposed. And as an infant or as a senior citizen like me, your immune system is not prime of life. It's not that built up. And you're just so prone. And the other thing I think too is um, as a baby boomer, you are raised, and as you are growing into an adult and going into middle age, we saw polyester as a miracle. And I'll tell you why. My mother, I am so old that we actually didn't even have a refrigerator until I was 5 years old. We had a cabinet where they used to bring a giant block of ice once a week in LA,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was an ice box,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And then my mother had to take at least one full day a week, get out the iron, I think heat it up over the stove, and she's like profusely sweating and she's ironing all the cotton pieces or
Yeah.
all the 100% wool from my father's suits, natural fibers. When polyester came around and suddenly you didn't have to iron anymore, you just threw it in a washing machine.
Yeah.
That was the biggest miracle. So for those of us who grew up on natural fibers, went to manufactured man-made fibers that were a quote unquote miracle, it's very hard now to turn your whole belief system around and say, oh my God, what I'm wearing could be killing me.
Yeah. Well, I'm not against innovation, but I think innovation needs to be checked and balanced,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
And like, acrylic was designed in the 50s, same idea, so that you wouldn't have to hand wash your wool sweaters, the stay at home moms at the time, right? And that was a convenience. But if I don't think it's worth our health, and that's where I'm kind of drawing the line and saying, hey, we should talk about this and figure out a different solution. And I don't want to leave people with this idea that that we're hopeless. We have solutions, and the best test is just to wear natural fibers, and then like that baby, its bioaccumulation levels. You just want to give more chance so that it's not getting everything out of your wardrobe. It's like just fine tuning it so that you don't overaccumulate. Because when you overaccumulate, that's when your body reacts. That's when you have a disease or the cancers that come into play. And so the idea is you want to keep your numbers down. So anything you can do, you don't have to be a purist like myself that was worn hemp for the last 20 years. But I also have never had dried skin, and people, I look at my buddies who are in the business world and they wear those starched white shirts and they have a little flaky white skin. And it's because of the starch. The starch it takes oxygen out of water. It dries up things. So obviously it's going to take the moisture out of your skin. It's just science. That's what's going to happen. So if you don't want that effect, stop wearing it. Because we were designed to be naked. We were designed to be nude. We were never designed our bodies to have anything covering us. And so we're stopping it from acting, how it should.
Well, tell me, everything becomes so overwhelming, especially I think if you're a little bit older, like I am, to say the least. That was an understatement. And you're used to cooking with vegetable oil and you're used to not being so mindful. And then, a friend will come over and I'm cooking something and I think I'm doing myself a favor because it's sort of direct farm to table. I'm not getting takeout food. I'm not getting delivery. And they'll say, oh, the oil you're cooking with, that's carcinogenic. Oh my God, you've got to throw all of that out. And I've got cabinets full of it.
Uh-huh.
If you had to give the audience
Mm-hmm.
3 actionables that would improve their chances of having a long, what I call health span,
Sure.
what would they be?
Easiest thing you can do tonight, you could change your detergents. So detergents are key because we wash with them every other day and they go out and off, into our water streams. But it's there's a lot of chemicals that aren't listed on most of these detergent companies because by law they don't have to. So Seventh Generation is a great product. You can find it in Walmart and Costco and
That's what
Target
I
and Whole
use.
Foods. It's great.
Everything 7th generation. And my housekeeper was so angry at me when I said, no, you cannot use Mr. Clean on the floor and the counters
Yeah.
because my animals keep dying and they're indoor animals. they keep dying of cancer because
Yeah.
they're walking on those chemicals,
Yeah. There you go.
licking their paws and ingesting it. She's still, this is years ago, she still hasn't gotten over it. And if something doesn't look completely clean, and I just mentioned it's, well, this organic stuff
Doesn't
is
work. Yeah.
what a waste.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I
That,
used, okay, yay, seventh generation.
yeah, because
Second,
it's a perfect example of innovation. Who it marries, it cleans your clothes just as good, right?
yeah.
And there's another company called Ecos. We interviewed in the doc, family owned, and they list all the ingredients, and they're great. Find anywhere. And the same pricing, by the way. So you got to understand these detergent companies, they do their science. They find smells that get you addicted. So
That too.
if your grandmother washed with Tide, your mom's going to wash with Tide, and then you're going to wash with Tide, getting associated that smell with cleanliness, right? So, and I'm not picking on Tide, but any of these companies, they know. So the second thing is underwear. So there are options out there online. You have to look a little bit harder, but you want a natural, whether it's a cotton or a linen or a hemp, and you can find it and undyed. There's no mass companies out there that are doing plant dyes like I am and that are on a commercial scale.
So
So
I have to look for undyed underwear?
correct. Yeah.
Where am I going to find that?
It's online. You can look at Etsy. Etsy's a great
Oh,
platform.
yeah, Etsy is great.
They're
Yeah,
great for finding.
very personalized, very homey.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the right vibe for the moment,
It's
for sure.
small designers like myself who don't have the money to have the big stores, the brick and mortars, etc. I have hemp boxers for my buddies, my male friends, because, they didn't have options. So I made some hemp boxers for them.
That's cool.
And then the third thing, sheeting. Sheeting again, you can find sheeting online. There's great companies out of France. Again, go to Etsy. You can also Google search it. But your linens, your cottons, again, some of them say low impact dyes. They're a little bit better than some of your azo-synthetic dyes. They're still synthetic though, but they have less metals in it. But I would again advise just doing undyed for that as
But
well.
then if you do that, and like I'm in New York City, so you're never going to get a washing machine that's big enough to wash your own bedding. So send it out for laundering. And good luck at trying to ask the dry cleaner and the laundry what chemicals they're using, and
Yeah.
it's very it's got to be a whole chain effect. And I remember, because I'm old enough to have lived through the entire saga of the tobacco industry, from something you were encouraged to do because it was good for you to something that was not so good for you, to the denial and the stonewalling of the industry. And right now, I see the destruction of the higher end market in fashion. Everything is closing. Neiman Marcus is no longer, and Saks Fifth Avenue isn't paying its bills. And those are the end of,
Yeah.
the higher end retailers. And everything points to more and more and more fast fashion. And what we're going to have to do is shift the customer's thought pattern from, firstly, oh, it looks really good on my body. It looks good and it's cheap, to looking at those labels. And of course, California would be first at putting, if you wear this, there's a good chance you're going to die from it, on every single product. And the minute I read that Marshall's Home Goods is putting those labels on plastic air fryers,
Yeah.
I threw out my air fryer. I just threw it out.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, no.
Well, I got two statements I can say that hopefully will change everyone's mind.
Yay.
All right. So if a gentleman's wearing spandex and polyester boxers, it's going to lead to impotence. For women,
Woo.
if they're wearing spandex and lycra leggings, it gives off this estrogen mimic chemical
No.
that leads to obesity. So
Obesity?
correct. And this is proven, peer-reviewed studies, etc.
Oh my.
what is in those garments, what is in that fabrication, what is in those
Wow.
dyes leads to that. So obviously people don't want that. So that's the selfish reasoning of wanting to change,
That's
right?
good.
And that's why you're paying more money because it's healthier for you. Just like Whole Foods is going to be a little bit more expensive than your Kroger's and your Publix and that thing because it's technically healthier food because it doesn't have the pesticides,
Yeah,
etc.
I'm
So
totally converted on that level for
yeah.
sure.
So the
And
more
the
more
other,
more people we get converted, the cheaper that the natural fibers are going to be and the dyes, and we'll get to a swinging of a balance, and that's the goal, because we want everyone to afford it, and that's it. I want everyone to wear hemp socks and hemp underwear, and those are the main points.
I'm immediately going out and looking for hemp underwear. I'm going to turn over every stone and find hemp underwear. Now, in conclusion, just talk briefly about your new documentary, when it's coming out, and what you hope to achieve.
It's funny, your sirens remind me when the police chased us in Indonesia in our documentary. Um, yeah, so yeah, so
Sorry,
this,
I live next to a fire station, so
yeah, yeah.
it's frequent.
I had a little PSD, but so the first one you mentioned was a short, and we won an Emmy for it. This second one is a full feature doc. So we're out to film festivals now. We're launching in London for Fashion Week on the 20th this month,
Fabulous.
and then we have our premiere, U.S. premiere in Nashville at the film festival on the 23rd, which is my hometown, which is exciting. And yeah, so we're off and running the film festival circuit, and then we're still in
And
negotiation and
what's the
talks with
title?
films. It's called Let Them Be Naked.
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 Okay.
That's my Tennessee slang.
It sure is.
Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna follow up with a book, so everyone has the research and they can read it themselves and really understand. I just want to give everyone the knowledge and then make their own decisions, and that's it. You know.
Usually people will come around and decide that they want to live, and I can attest from having cancer
Yeah.
that
Nice.
health is wealth, and
Yeah.
you can have anything.
Yeah.
You can have the slamming penthouse in Manhattan, you can have the view of Central Park, everything I have, and yet it's nothing if you're not healthy. So here's in a way, I have to say, oh, good. Here's another thing to worry about. But on the positive side, here's another thing to be aware of and start shifting over. And
Yeah.
I believe eventually we will be leading a much more healthful life through people like you, Jeff Garner, who show us the way. I want to thank you so much. This was probably the most fascinating podcast we've had to date. So
Thank you.
I'm really appreciative. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you. And thank you for giving us the voice because, it's important.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.